guys, and welcome back to another video. My name's Destiny. This is Jack, clearly, as he tries to attack my face. Will you leave my brain alone? Lay down. You were just laying down. I just gotta get my coffee. Yes, my little sidekick. That won't leave me alone. I know you've been following me around all morning. Yes, you have. Yeah, you have. And today I thought we would talk about the books I read in September. I ended up finishing 11 of them. There might be a few here I don't talk about. I will tell you I read them and what they're about, but I may not go ahead and get too much in detail with them. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, the books I read in September. I have my handy dandy little bullet journal so we can talk. The first one I read in September the first one I finished in September was Small Town Horror by Ronald Moffat. This was so good. I did not see the ending coming, and there was a couple twists I didn't see coming. It follows Andrew as Andrew is called back home to help his childhood friend with the disappearance of his wife. And of course, the wife disappears. The husband's first person they're looking at. And so he calls him home to help him with that. And we start to learn that back when they were teenagers, something happened. It's one of those I know what you did last summer kind of things. They did something unspeakable. The five of them promised never to speak of it again. And now it's kind of coming back to haunt them. It is a horror. It is creepy. It is unsettling. You don't want to really read it at night, and you won't see the twist coming at the end. I kind of figured out what they did at the beginning. Like, that wasn't a shock to me, but the ending was, and it was so good. It was very well written, in a way where it comes off that it's almost like you are Andrew's therapist and he's telling you everything. He's giving you the entire story, just laying it flat to you. And since you're getting that kind of perspective, you're on the outside, but not to the point where you're like a giant looking down. More of you're a fly on the wall and you have your own opinions and everything, but you're not hearing. I don't want to say you're not hearing you're hearing his inner monologue, but it's like you're removed just a little. You are Andrew, you are reading from his point of view, but you're just removed enough that there's other commentary coming through. And it's interesting. I will say trigger warnings for violence, drug abuse, drug use. But it was definitely worth it. I gave it 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Next, I finished, which I'm not going in any order. Kate Alice Marshall's No One Can Know. This follows 3 sisters whose parents are murdered. All 3 of them are found in the house with them, and the cops settle in on I want to say the eldest sister did it. And she allows the cops to believe that because she thinks she's protecting her sisters. And it's the fact that she now is going home with her husband to live in the house because they are broke and they have nowhere else to go. And her other 2 sisters are saying, okay, we got to figure something out. She's going to learn too much. And she starts trying to figure out what really happened to her parents. That ending I saw coming from the very freaking beginning. As soon as they introduced us to the 3 sisters and we met all our characters, I knew who did it. I knew. And honestly, I probably could spoil it, but I'm not going to. I ended up giving it, I wrote 4 stars here. Am I thinking about the right one? Am I off one? Hold on. No, I'm right. Yeah, I'm right. I wrote down 4 stars, but honestly, I'm probably going to change it to about 3. The ride to get there was interesting. The way she plotted it out, the way the story is paced was really, really good. I just think the whodunit was way too on the nose. And if we had changed the whodunit just by one, it would have been shocking and everything I think it should have been. But since we already knew, since I knew in the beginning, it kind of fell flat. It's one of those thrillers that I truly think is going to be forgettable. If you ask me in a year, did you read that? I'm like, I think I did. Did I read that one? I don't think I did. I would go into it and go, oh yeah, I read this kind of thing. Next, I finished The Merciless Ones. And Naima Forma, I think is how you say it. I heard somebody on TikTok say it, and I think that's how she said it. I love this series. Let me tell you, I love the Gilded Ones. I think they're interesting. I think it's a new spin on fantasy. And I think the second one kind of blew my mind a little bit, but it suffered from middle book syndrome, in my opinion. Everything happened either too fast or too slow. There wasn't a set pace, in my opinion, and it may be the way I read it. Don't come for me in the comments. It may be the way I read it, but it just didn't have a set pace to me, and I wanted more from it. I will be reading the last one, which is the Eternal Ones. I have all plans and intentions of reading the third one. The second one did not put me off the series. It did not make me love the series less. I just think the second one, the book as a book by itself, fell short. Next, I read The Alchemist by Paolo Cosini. I could be saying that wrong. I don't know. Oh my gosh, was this one so fucking good? You're following a young gentleman as he is following his path. He is a shepherd with sheep, and he gets a sign from God one day that says, your treasure is under the pyramids. And he's like, I can't get there. That's in Egypt. I cannot go to Egypt. I have sheep. I have this. I cannot go there. And he finally makes the decision, okay, fine, I'll follow. I'll listen to what God's telling me. Fine, I'm going. And he sells off all his sheep, which he makes more money than he thinks he should. Everything seems to be working out. When he gets to the next town, he is robbed. And he ends up working for a potter. He sells dishes, I believe. I think he's a potter. And he starts to help him. And he starts to help his business. And he tells him, if you would sell tea out of the cups you make, we can make more money. And eventually they do. And he helps him along. And he kind of gets stuck for a little while there. And God reminds him, hey, remember, you're supposed to go to the pyramids. Your treasure is at the bottom of the pyramid. And he goes, okay, I've saved enough money, let's go. So he crosses the desert. And it just turns into a story of the journey is more important than the destination. You are supposed to learn during the journey. The destination is not what you should be looking at. The journey is. And it is powerful. If you've never read it, it's short. I think it was like a 4-hour audiobook, and I listened to it twice. I fell in love. And my better half is the one that recommended it to me. And at first I did not want to read it. I was not interested at all. The premise did not interest me, and I was sitting at work one day looking for something to read. It was available, and I thought to myself, if I recommended a book to her, she would at least give it a try. She would give it a try. If it wasn't for her, she'd tell me, but she would give it a try. And I didn't even try. Let's try. And I fell in love. And I don't ever want to look back, and I apologize to her. And any other books she wants to recommend me, I will be reading, because this one honestly changed the way I look at life. And I've been living a little differently, and things are falling into place due to this book. Crazy, I know. Next is another one that, if You're going to take the recommendation of reading The Alchemist. I highly recommend reading The Alchemist and then reading Before the Coffee Gets Cold, because it will change the way you look at Before the Coffee Gets Cold. If you have a goal of reading translated works before the coffee gets cold, we'll cover that for you. Before the Coffee Gets Cold is about a cafe. And in the cafe, there's one seat that is magical. You can go back in time. But there are rules. You cannot change the outcome. So by the time your coffee gets cold, you have to drink all the coffee before it gets cold, otherwise you become a ghost, is really where the story gets its name. But you have the time it takes you to drink a cup of coffee before it gets cold to relive. The person has had to visit the cafe before. You have to have a specific time they visit the cafe. And there's a lot of rules. But it's another one of those, it's not the ending that mattered. It was the journey. There is written in a couple parts. The first part, we watch a young girl get broken up with in this cafe. Her boyfriend tells her that, hey, I have a job opportunity in the US, I'm taking it. And she can't go with him. She's brokenhearted and she comes back to the cafe, and that's when we learn about the rules and all this. And she decides to go back. And when she goes back, she says everything that she wanted to say in the first place, knowing it's not going to change the fact that he still went to the US. Like, he still is in the US. And as she's sipping the last sip of coffee, and she's headed back to the future, he says, wait for me. I'll be back in 3 years. It's only 3 years. It's not that long. So she decides to wait because she loves him. But again, it's one of those that she would have never known that if she hadn't gone back. It was the journey of getting there. It's powerful. It makes me cry. The last little snippet is my favorite. I bawled like a baby. Highly recommend. Next, I finished As the Wicked Watched by Tamron Hall. I have the second one beside me that I'm planning on reading this month. This follows a journalist who is doing the best she can. Her personal life has fallen the fuck apart, and she now is covering a story of a young girl. She's a teenager who has gone missing, and the cops, because of her skin color and because of where she lives, assumes that she's a runaway, and they don't really want to give it more than that. We jump in the story as of 3 weeks have passed since Macy went missing, and Jordan's just trying to do the best she can. She's still covering it. She meets with the mom I want to say like once a week. She meets with the mom and hears more about Macy's life and more about who she was as a person. And now 3 weeks has passed. The cops have decided to make it a missing persons, not a runaway. They said, okay, maybe she didn't run away. Maybe we should look more into this. And Macy's body is found. It is a powerful novel. It is a thriller, so you're trying to figure out who done it. Jordan gets herself in some situations that are very thrilling, and it's so good. If you are looking to diversify your reading and you like mystery thrillers, highly recommend this one. If y'all have any more POC thrillers and mysteries, please let me know. I have a lot of urban romance recommendations that I see on TikTok and on YouTube. There's a lot of fantasy recommendations, but I'm not seeing as many thriller and mysteries, and that's really what your girl wants right now in this it's about to get cold season. So let me know. Next I read Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. It was okay. It was a fluffy romance. I will say, do not sleep on the cartoon covers, because holy mess was that was more spicy than some of the ones I've picked up with actual people on them. I was not expecting that. I was looking for a fluffy rom-com, and well, Miss Tessa, I will be reading another one of your books, because that was actually really good. Those TV scenes were pretty steamy. I'm just saying. Not as steamy as some of the dark romance I pick up randomly, but pretty good and steamy. I gave it 3 stars. Like I said, it wasn't bad. I hate the miscommunication trope. It's something that truly, truly makes me want to throw my phone against the wall. Um, Especially when it's just like they're not communicating at all, and it's caused this issue that annoys the living mess out of me. It's in most romance books. I'll have always docked like a star or two for it, depending on how bad it is, how bad it annoys me. So that's where those came from. Next, I read Out There Screaming. It's by multiple authors. It is a short story collection. Oh my gosh, is it perfect for the spooky season? If you've not read this, I highly, highly freaking recommend, because holy shit, is it good. The first two stories, I would not mind having full-length novels about. Hint, hint. Please. I know one's by N.K. Jemisin because I've seen her name everywhere. And the other one, I can't remember who it's by. Excuse me. I can't remember who it's by for the life of me. But they were so good. Um, I So the premise of this, Jordan Peele is the one that edited it, and he asked all these black horror authors to write their own personal oubliette, physical or psychological oubliette. I think I'm saying that word right. I'm sorry if I'm not. Um, and if you don't know what an oubliette is, it is a medieval torture where they put these people in basically like a bottle. I think of it as a bottle shaped opening in the ground. And most of them were built where they could hear parties, they could smell the good food and all that, and they were left down there in the dark. The bottom part is barely enough room to even lay down in, and they're left there. And they're screaming and hollering, no one can hear them. No one ever reacts to them. Like, it's one of those. He says that Get Out, the scene where we see our main protagonist, where he's like down in the dark trying to fight his way out, it's that scene. That's an oubliette. And so all of these have to do with racial experiences in our day-to-day lives and their own oubliettes, and they're so interesting and varied and vast. And just read it. Just read it. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, the first two, and then Tonare Devu. I'm saying her name wrong. I know I am. I can see it spelled in my head, but it's not coming out. Anyways, the one that wrote the Reformatory. The Reformatory, read that one. Her story was really, really good. I was looking forward to hers, and then the first two, those three were my favorite. Next, I have Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. I read this one because I needed the word like. I was trying to finish my buzzword a thon, and I needed the word like, and so I ended up with her. Or I ended up with this one. I have mixed feelings about it, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. It did not go where I thought we were going, and I think that if I had realized that it was considered a thriller or a mystery and not a horror, I would have saw it and like been. I probably would have got a 5 star, but since I thought we were going horrific and we didn't, kind of was like, meh. I have been looking for a haunted house story, and I thought I was getting it, and I wasn't. It wasn't bad or anything. We're following a girl who, her father is a serial killer, and she goes back to the home she was raised in with her father. Her mother is dying. Her mother has called her and asked her to come back, and she's going back to sell the house and everything. She finds out that there's an artist living there, and like that causes issues. And I don't want to give you any more because you just need to go. I think you should go into it pretty blind. Like I said, 4 stars, not too bad. Next, I read Studying and Drowning by Eva Reed. If you like Divine Rivals, if Divine Rivals was your shit and you didn't care for Fourth Wing, let me make sure I make that clear. If you are in the camp of I love Divine Rivals, didn't really care for Fourth Wing, Study and Drowning is for you. For my girlies who love Fourth Wing, but Divine Rivals was like a meh, do not go into studying drowning. I don't care how much book talk and booktube recommends it. Don't do it. You're gonna be disappointed. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was okay, but it's not something I would read again. I probably will continue. There is a sequel. I probably will pick the sequel up just to see. It was like Divine Rivals for me. Nothing really happened in my mind. It was just not my cup of tea, and that's okay. I think that if you like the Jane Austen and that vein of romance, if you like the light and fluffy, no spice kind of romance, if that's what you're looking for, Studying and Drowning is definitely for you. I highly recommend it for you. But if you are more, I want a little spice, I want a little more connection, like I want, a little more of that. You want more of a romance question mark, then this one's not for you. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I'll probably read the second one, but it's just nothing to write home about. And then lastly, I finished How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Oh my goodness, did I love this. It was 5 stars. It is that kooky, cozy romance that I absolutely love this time of year. We are following Frances. In 1965, Frances got a fortune that she's going to be murdered, and it's a very specific fortune. And from 1965 on, Frances has lived by this fortune. Like, she believes she's going to die. Fast forward 60 or 65 years, and you meet Anna. Anna is Frances's great niece. She has been laid off. She now lives at home. She's in the middle of trying to write her own murder mystery novel, and she gets a letter from Great Aunt Frances's lawyer telling her that she has been named in Frances's will over her mother, and that she needs to come out to Castle Knoll for a meeting with Frances. And her mom were confused. They don't know why why Frances has moved from, her mom to her. But it's not a big deal to them. Like, we're still getting an inheritance. We're still living in Aunt Frances' house. She's not putting us out. It's fine. So Frances decide that they're going to go do what they need to do, right? Well, when she gets to Castle Knoll, she gets to the lawyer's office. The lawyer says, hey, Frances says her car is not working. We're going to have to go to her. Fine, not a problem. By the time they get to Castle Knoll and get out there, Frances has been murdered. And Frances has left it as a clause in her will that Sexton, which is her nephew, by marriage, so her husband's nephew, and Anna have a week to solve her murder. If neither one of them solve it, the house, her whole estate, goes to a land developer to do what they please. If the police solve it first, it goes to the land developer. If Anna or Sexton solve it first, then they get it. And so you start on this kooky, wild ass adventure to try to solve this fucking murder. Poor Anna does not have any idea to where to fucking go. Sexton has been collecting secrets and knows everything about everyone in this town for 60 plus years. Like, he's lived here forever. That's what he did. And then you have a race against time. It was so good. It was so freaking good. You also get excerpts from Frances's diary. So Anna happens to find Frances's diary and steals it out of the library before anybody else can see it. And so she's sitting reading it, and you're reading it with her. So you're learning some of the details as she's learning them, and it turns into a convoluted hunt. And by the end, I did not see the ending coming, and it was so good to me when I saw the end. Like, what? Wait a minute. Because Frances' method of murder, her method of murder changes like 3 times. They assume it's one thing and start to solve that, and then find out no, 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 it's this. Well, then they try to solve that. No, 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 it's actually this. So it changes a couple times, which changes obviously who done it, and like, oh, it's so good. If you are into cozy mysteries and are okay with a inexperienced, kind of klutzy detective, or amateur detective trying to figure it out, then I highly recommend this one for you guys. I loved it so much. I cannot rave enough. I ended my month. I started my month and ended my month off pretty good. Since I physically finished Small Town Horror, and then as soon as I finished it, I started physically reading How to Solve Your Own Murder, so it just worked out beautifully. But yeah, those are the 11 books I finished in September. What about you? What did you read? I would love to know, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye, guys. Oh, sorry, Bubba, you got caught in my hair.